Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to do a couple of movie and series reviews for you because Halloween's coming up and you've got Halloween weekend coming up, and who better to tell you what you should watch than me, right? The first thing I wanted to do is talk about this great cup I got, goblet. I got it on Amazon. I'll link that at the bottom in the comment section. I normally run like a Facebook page where we swap gifts, but this year I just got myself something. Also, I am working on the novelization of Bloody Marys, which also has Vampire Bikers from Hell in it. If you haven't seen that trailer I made probably 10 years ago, I do suggest you go and watch it. It's a lot of fun. We made it on exactly $0. It was all friends and a high school student that we hijacked who helped us out. Michael Tanner is his name. Go check his stuff out too. Let's see. I think that's all I've got to update everybody on. So to get started, I wanted to talk really briefly about the Interview with a Vampire before I talk about Barbarian. And we have to talk about Barbarian because I saw that, and we we got to talk about Barbarian. Okay. So Interview with the Vampire is very meh. At first I thought I liked it, but now I realize I already know where this is going. I saw the movie in the 90s and that was actually better. The only thing it's got going for it that makes it different is the fact that they have race swapped one of the characters and aged up Claudia, which I don't actually love. I don't really care that much, but I also am not in love with the fact that they changed, the characters. So, I think that they could have pulled from material that came before Interview with the Vampire or the books after Interview with the Vampire, or said this is inspired by Interview with the Vampire and used those characters that they changed in a new way. Instead of changing the characters, but yet still keeping the same basic storyline. So, yeah, I'm not loving it. Kind of bored with it. I stopped watching it after the third episode. Same is true with The Watcher. The original story behind it, the true story that it's based on, is super interesting. And I'm going to link that story in the comment boxes too. I think Stephanie Harlow did a deep dive into that story, and it is really interesting. But it's not enough information for a movie, let alone a series. So they jump the rails, and it's really kind of weird and boring, and it's not great. I do like Jennifer Coolidge. I think that's her name. Stifler's mom. She's in it. I wish she was in more stuff. I'd watch her just as a real estate agent, like a show with her as a real estate agent. It was like comedic, but sometimes drama. I'd watch that over The Watcher. Anyway, so now about the important thing, what I really wanted to spend my time on. I rushed through the other two so we could spend a little time on this. And I know people don't have 30 actual minutes to hear about stuff. I never listen to those reviews that are like 30 minutes long, right? So we're going to get to the point. Barbarian. Lex, if you watch this, Lex, you're why I watched this movie. I didn't really know anything about it. Like, I remember seeing now the trailer that was like the new Justin Long movie. And I thought, I should watch a Justin Long movie. He's like a scream queen. I mean, he's a dude, but he's totally a scream queen, right? So I was going to watch it, but I forgot about it. And I didn't know it was called Barbarian because of the way they advertised it. And then everybody was talking about it in some horror movie groups I'm in, and I was like, okay. But then Lex recommended it. He was like, I want to know what you think. I don't think he liked it, but he wanted, like, what do you think? Let's talk about this movie. Guys, let's talk about this movie. So one of the reasons I stopped reviewing films between you and me, this audience, all of you guys, is because I was getting really bored with a lot of the movies that was being put out. Like, just boring, right? Nothing that kept my attention, and even being sent to exclusive screenings, meeting like Bradley Cooper, or is it Brad Cooper? The dude from Guardians in the Galaxy that's the raccoon. Whatever. I mean, that's how, like, I don't care. Like, I don't care, right? I just want to see a good movie, and nothing was what I was like writing reviews that my heart wasn't in, and I was like, this movie is fun, but it wasn't good. Fun is not good. It was just, I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't have the time to waste on writing for two different blogs about stuff that just was boring, really. This movie is not boring. It's a lot of things, but it's not boring. Okay, so let's talk about it. So first of all, we have the main character Tess, and Tess is going to a job interview in Detroit, and she is very unaware of her surroundings, like a dummy. And she goes to rent this Airbnb, and she gets there, and there's someone else there. Now, right away, you and me, we're normal people, right? Whoever you are watching me right now. And what would we do? We'd get back in our car. We'd call the company from our car. And maybe the police if we thought we were being, taken advantage of. No, this lady, she's like, I'm going to go hang out with him and spend the night in this house with this stranger who I don't know. Okay, lady. Now, nothing happens to her. I'm not going to get into details and stuff. She's okay. It's the very beginning of the movie. And what is so great about this movie is every, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, it's a totally different movie. That's what kept my attention with it. She gets out and she sees that the neighborhood is completely like ransacked. Like every house, like anywhere close to her, is completely like burned down, trashed, whatever. Like she didn't notice this in her car. Like I know it was dark, but like I've driven the dark. You've got headlights. Like did you not like go, look around? Like you didn't notice none of those houses look scary. Then she goes to the interview, and the lady interviews like, "Hey, you probably shouldn't go back." And she's like, "No, I'm gonna go back." I mean, so she goes back, and then she goes into the spooky, scary basement, and she's okay and all. But then the guy is like, "Oh, hey, I should go check out the spooky, scary basement before we leave." And that's where I would have been like, "No, no, I'm gonna get in my car. I'll call the police for you, but I told you not to go in there." And then he's like, "Help, help!" And she's like, "I'm gonna help you." And I'd have been like, "That seems like a you problem, because I told you not to go down there." And this is the entire problem with this character. I'm not going to give away anything else in the movie because that just kind of sets up the whole movie right there for you. But yeah, like lots of poor decision making. Which someone said that's what horror movies are. They're people who make bad decisions, but basically that's all this movie is. And, if we want to talk about what the movie was really about, the original author or the writer, the script, and the director were trying to get across basically that all these men, that's my neighbor, all these men were bad. They're like bad guys, different levels of bad guys. But my opinion was a little different. This is what I took away. Um, I used to live in this neighborhood that was a Midland neighborhood, right? Like, I don't suggest living in places like that. A lot of people will buy huge, expensive houses in these neighborhoods that are being gentrified. And I personally don't really agree with that. I think if you're going to spend a lot of money, go to a neighborhood that's already nice, where you're safe. But a lot of people buy in these gentrified neighborhoods, and then they're shocked when they're out jogging and they're like mugged or they're raped, or they're out in this bad park and someone like accosts them, or they're shopping in the crappy Walmart instead of the nice Target, like the crappy Walmart on the bad. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Instead of the ritzy place. And this happens a lot. And these people are completely ambivalent to the crime around them. And even in these bad neighborhoods, the people who like live in the projects that are like maybe a block over are like, hey, like not for nothing, but don't walk at midnight. Your dog doesn't need to be walked that bad. Like, let's not do that. And they do it anyway. So I'm not just saying that it's the bad neighborhood, it's also that they're not equipped to be in that area. They're unaware of the dangers around them and don't take the simple precautions that people who are used to being in those areas would. So to me, it's about upper middle class, like being protected all the time. Like she's so dumb, she doesn't know. She's shocked. There's a scene where the police don't believe her. She's shocked. Oh, I don't believe you. Don't believe me. Of course they don't believe you. You're in a bad neighborhood and you look like a crackhead. You know, like to me, that's what the movie is about. That's what my takeaway of the film is. But I do suggest watching it, even though it's not my favorite movie. I do think the plot kind of goes off the rails. Everybody says it like loses the plot. It doesn't lose the plot. It's just the story starts to become more and more and more outrageous as it goes on. Like, it is a story. Like I walked away for a few minutes to get something out of the kitchen, and I was like, "Oh, we have to rewind. I don't know what just happened here." You know, it was constantly. I mean, there's flashbacks from things that happened before, and it's a wild ride. So I do suggest the movie. That doesn't mean I think it's a 5-star movie, but it is very interesting, and I haven't seen a movie that's worth talking about that's super interesting in a long time. I mean, like I just talked about Interview with the Vampire, and the most I had to say about it was the fact that they race swapped and changed the character. At the end of the day, who cares about that, right? Like, I feel like that is like the go-to now. Like, we're going to take an old character and we're going to race swap her so everybody talks about it, because really we don't have anything new to say. This had a lot to say. There was a lot said. It was, there was a lot going on. So I really liked it. I really liked the movie. But I don't think it was necessarily the best movie, I guess. That's the best way to put it. Like, I liked it because it kept me interested. Um, but I don't necessarily think it's like, it's not a Hitchcock. It's not The Shining. You know, how horror fans know what I'm talking about. There's different levels, of a good horror movie, right? But this is definitely a Halloween pick. And lastly, before I let you guys go, because that's all I have to say about that, I can't talk about it much because so many things happen. I don't want to give away anymore. I'm going to talk about a couple of things I have been watching that's kept me entertained over the past month. So first of all, on Audible, I bought the book, The Last House on Needless Street, which I really like. So if you're into books and you read, or you want to listen to something new, I highly recommend The Last House on Needless Street. It is another wild ride. I never knew what was going to happen, and that's hard for me because the way my ADHD is set up, I like to know the ending of things pretty quick. But I do. It was really good. Um, Trigger warning: there is some child harm that happens um, in that book. So that does bother me, but it wasn't so bad that I couldn't handle it. But for some people, that's absolutely no. So I did want to warn people. Secondly, Glamster's Closet. I could be saying that wrong. In case if I am, like, I will 1,000 pardons. I'm going to put it in the comments so you can look it up. He has the best content, the best content. So I really want to push his channel for him and help him out. He has old Twilight Zone episodes from the 80s, which I like more than the original because it's a little more horror, a little less sci-fi-ish, in my opinion. He has Tales from the Crypt. He has this. It's a series I saw years ago that's about Stephen King stuff. So it only lasted one season, but it's really good. It's based on Everything's Eventual, I think. I can't remember, but it's a great series to watch. Twisted Tales, old Goosebumps episodes. Gosh, he has just a lot of content. And so I really wanted to promote his channel because I think that people who like me and people who like horror movies like I do will really like his content. So go check him out. And other than that, that's all I had to say. I finally have done a movie review that I said I was going to do. I also just recently watched Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. But I don't want to confuse too much. So maybe I'll do another review with Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Either way, I hope if you don't see me before Halloween again, I hope you have a great Halloween. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.